The road was empty, the air thick with the late afternoon heat. Then out of nowhere came the heavy thud, claws scraping metal as something landed on the roof. The Jeep lurched as Arun hit the brakes, gravel spraying from under the tires. For a moment, silence. Then a face peered down through the dusty windshield. Wide amber eyes locked on his, filled with something he'd never seen in a wild animal before. Not fear, not aggression, but a strange kind of urgency. The monkey's chest heaved, fur slick with mud, as though it had been running for miles. It slammed its palms against the roof once, twice, tail whipping like a frantic signal. Then came the sound. Short, sharp cries from deep in the forest, echoing through the trees. It was a call, not random, not playful. Something was wrong, very wrong. The golden sun slanted low across the savanna, painting the dirt road in a warm glow. But the forest felt unnaturally still. No bird song, no rustle of leaves, no distant chatter of other monkeys. Even the air smelled different, damp from the recent rain, yet tinged with something acrid, something uneasy. Aaron, a veteran ranger, knew this road well. He'd driven it hundreds of times. Normally, animals stayed away. For one to leap on his Jeep was not just strange, it was unheard of. He killed the engine, heart pounding, and watched. The monkey jumped off the roof but didn't flee. Instead, it stood in the middle of the track, staring back at him, taking a few steps toward the forest. Then it stopped, waited, looked back, as if asking, "Are you coming?" Aaron hesitated only a moment. Something deep inside told him this was no coincidence. He shifted the Jeep into gear and followed slowly. The monkey darted ahead, then paused, looking back to check if he was still behind. It was a pattern. Run, stop, wait, lead, pulling him deeper into the reserve. The trees grew denser, shadows stretching long and dark as evening approached. The forest floor was damp, his tires sinking slightly into the mud. The air was thick, heavy with moisture, every sound magnified. The hiss of cicadas, the crunch of branches under the Jeep, his own breathing louder than normal. Then came the sound that froze him where he sat. A faint, high-pitched cry. Not a bird, not human. Something else entirely. He stepped out, boots sinking into the wet earth, and crouched low to listen. The cry came again, sharper this time, and his flashlight beam cut through the undergrowth. That's when he saw it. A tiny infant monkey, barely larger than his hand, pinned under a fallen branch. The little creature's fur was matted and soaked, its tiny chest heaving with effort as it tried to wriggle free. Beside it, the adult monkey, almost certainly the mother, shrieked and pulled at the branch, her movements desperate but futile. She looked up at Aaron with a face twisted by panic. The whole forest seemed to hold its breath, and then from somewhere deeper in the trees came a low growl. Leopard. The realization made his stomach tighten. The tracks in the soft mud confirmed it. Fresh, less than an hour old. The mother monkey screeched an alarm call, swinging her head between Aaron and the baby. Trust was fragile here. One wrong move and she might attack, or worse, flee and abandon the infant. He dropped to his knees, grasping the branch. It was heavier than he expected, slick with rainwater, wedged into the ground. The mother darted forward, then back again, chattering with a sharp edge. From above, other members of the troop had gathered, their voices rising in a chorus of fear. Every second counted. The baby's cries were growing weaker, exhaustion setting in. Somewhere close, a shadow shifted. A flash of movement between the trees, followed by the unmistakable glint of yellow eyes. Aaron swallowed hard, planted his feet, and heaved. The branch groaned against the earth, moved a few inches. He strained again, this time rolling it just far enough for the baby to squirm free. It lay on the ground, limp, its tiny hands barely moving. The mother froze halfway between him and her child. The forest canopy exploded with sound. The troop urging, screaming, crying out. Aaron knelt lower, placing the baby gently on a patch of dry leaves and backing away slowly, palms open to show he meant no harm. The mother dropped to the ground, creeping forward, sniffing, chattering softly. She let out a call so raw it made his chest ache. a sound that was both relief and fear. But danger wasn't gone. The rustling grew louder. He turned his flashlight toward the trees. Two glowing eyes stared back at him, low to the ground, unblinking. The leopard stepped forward, its body a ripple of muscle under wet fur, tail swishing lazily as if in no hurry. The mother monkey clutched her baby to her chest, pressing back toward the trunk of a tree. The troop above went wild, hurling alarm calls that echoed through the forest. Aaron's training kicked in. He grabbed a long stick, banged it against the ground, and shouted. At the same time, he ran to the jeep and switched on the headlights, flooding the clearing with light. The leopard crouched, ears flat, then slipped back into the brush. But it didn't go far. It was waiting, watching, calculating. Nightfall was minutes away. Once darkness fell, the balance would shift completely. The mother would have to climb, but the infant was weak, its grip loose. If they tried to move now, the leopard might strike. Aaron ran back to the jeep, grabbed his spare blanket and a bottle of water. He soaked a corner of the cloth and knelt once more, wringing a few drops into the baby's mouth. At first, nothing. Then a small twitch, a faint cry, a flicker of life. The mother crept closer, this time without screaming. Her breathing slowed, her body language changing as though she understood what was happening. She took the baby in her arms but didn't leave. Instead, she turned, looking at him, waiting, as if asking him to guard them just a little longer. The leopard's growl came again, closer, deeper. Aaron tightened his grip on the stick, heart pounding. This was the moment. He shouted, charged forward just enough to break the predator's nerve, swinging the stick in a wide arc. The headlights caught the leopard's eyes one last time before it melted into the jungle, silent and unseen. For a moment, the clearing was still except for the sound of his breathing. Then with a sudden leap, the mother monkey climbed the nearest tree, baby clinging to her chest. The troop erupted in cheers, a chorus of relief, their cries echoing high into the canopy. Aaron stood there, sweat mixing with rainwater, scanning the darkness to make sure the danger was truly gone. Slowly, the forest calmed. The monkey's alarm calls softened, turning into gentle chatter. Night insects began to sing. The natural rhythm of the jungle returned, as if the crisis had passed and life could continue. The mother monkey paused high in the branches, turning her face toward him one last time. Their eyes met across the clearing. No sound, no movement. Just a moment of silent recognition. And then she was gone, melting into the darkness with her baby, the rest of the troop following close behind. Arun walked back to the jeep, every muscle aching, but a small, tired smile on his face. He started the engine, the headlights cutting through the night as he drove back down the dirt track. Behind him, the forest was alive again. Somewhere above, a single soft monkey call echoed through the trees. Not an alarm this time, but something softer. Almost like a thank you. Sometimes the wild doesn't just watch us. Sometimes it calls to us. That day, a desperate mother crossed the line between fear and trust, and together, they saved a life. Would you have followed that monkey into the unknown? Would you have stood your ground when a predator's eyes glowed in the darkness? Tonight, on a lonely road deep in the forest, a man and a monkey reminded the world that even in the most dangerous places, compassion can still win. Even as Arun drove back toward camp, the night felt charged. Every shadow seemed alive, every gust of wind carrying faint echoes of the cries he had just heard. The image of the mother monkey holding her fragile baby was burned into his mind. He wondered if she had made it back to safety, or if the leopard was still following. He checked his rear-view mirror more than once, scanning the road for glowing eyes. Back at the ranger station, Aaron sat on the steps, unable to shake the adrenaline coursing through him. He scribbled notes in the logbook, recording everything he'd seen: the branch, the baby, the leopard. But words felt too small to capture what had happened. She asked me to follow her, he muttered under his breath, still hearing the thud of the monkey landing on the jeep roof. It hadn't been random, it had been deliberate. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every sound outside, the hoot of an owl, the distant crack of a branch, brought him back to that clearing. What if another baby was hurt? What if poachers had set a trap nearby, and the troop was in danger? By dawn, he had made up his mind. He would go back, not because it was his duty, but because he couldn't live with not knowing. The forest looked different in the early morning light, calmer, softer, dew clinging to every leaf. Aaron parked the Jeep at the same spot and followed the track on foot, careful not to disturb the peace. Birds called again, and shafts of sunlight pierced the canopy, turning the clearing almost golden. There in the high branches, he saw movement. The troop was still there. The mother monkey spotted him first. She froze, clutching the baby tight. The infant's fur was still slightly damp, but it looked stronger now, clinging to her chest with a better grip. The entire troop went silent, as if waiting to see what he would do. Arun simply stood still, then slowly placed a few pieces of fruit on a rock before stepping back. It was a gesture of peace, nothing more. After a long pause, the mother descended halfway down the trunk. She didn't take the fruit, not yet, but she didn't scream either. This was trust in its most fragile form, unspoken, tentative, but growing. Aaron felt something shift deep inside him. This was no longer about a single rescue. This was about connection. Over the next few days, he returned again and again, always at a respectful distance, leaving food, watching from the shadows. Slowly, the troop seemed to accept his presence. The baby monkey grew stronger, its cries turning playful, its movements more lively. Each time Arun saw it, a strange warmth filled his chest, but the forest held other secrets. One evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Aaron heard it, a snare snapping somewhere in the distance. His heart leapt into his throat. Poachers. He grabbed his radio, called in backup, and ran toward the sound. What he found turned his stomach. A crude wire trap, blood-stained, its loop broken. Something had been caught and had torn itself free. Fresh drag marks led away into the undergrowth. He followed, fear gnawing at him. Would he find another wounded animal? Or worse, a predator drawn by the scent of blood? The trail ended at a small stream, where he saw droplets of blood on the rocks. And there, in the shadows, a movement. The leopard, not hunting this time, but limping, one paw mangled by the snare. Aaron froze. Here was the same predator that had threatened the monkeys, now injured and desperate. For a long moment, they just stared at each other, two survivors from the night before. Aaron felt a strange pull, the same call to act he'd felt when the monkey begged him to follow. Could he save this animal too? Or was this the moment when compassion would cost him everything? Arun's breath came fast as he crouched near the stream, his flashlight beam trembling over the wounded leopard. Its golden eyes burned with pain, but not aggression. Not yet. The animal's growl was low, warning, but strangely not a full charge. It was as if it didn't have the strength. Its paw was swollen, bloodied where the snare had torn away. He radioed his team, voice low but urgent, calling for a vet and backup. Every minute counted. The leopard licked its paw, wincing with each touch. In that moment, Aaron felt the same helplessness he'd felt watching the baby monkey under the branch. This was another victim of the same human cruelty. As he waited for help, the forest grew darker. The leopard didn't move away. It just watched him, tense but staying put. Was it too weak to run, or was some part of it trusting him? He didn't dare step closer. He just crouched there, speaking softly under his breath. "Easy. We'll fix this." The first ranger arrived, then another, carrying torches and equipment. The vet came last, breathless from running, dart gun already loaded. They formed a loose semicircle, slowly closing in. The leopard's tail twitched, muscles rippling despite the injury. Everyone's pulse quickened. This was far more dangerous than rescuing a snared lion at night. The dart hit its mark with a soft thud. The leopard snarled, tried to lunge, but its injured paw buckled. It stumbled back, then lay down, chest heaving. The seconds stretched into eternity as they waited for the sedative to work. Finally, its head drooped, eyes half closing. They rushed forward. Up close, the damage was worse than they thought. Deep cuts, exposed tissue. The snare had nearly severed 2 toes. The vet worked quickly, cleaning the wound, applying antiseptic, and bandaging the paw. The air smelled of blood and iodine, mixed with wet earth and sweat. As they worked, Aaron kept watch over the forest around them, stick in hand. If another predator caught the scent of blood, they would be in trouble. Somewhere in the trees, monkeys called, their voices sharp, alarmed, as if warning them to hurry. Finally, the vet nodded. "We've done what we can. He'll need weeks to recover, but at least he has a chance now." They retreated to a safe distance and waited as the leopard slowly woke, groggy but alive. It stood, tested its paw, then limped toward the trees. Just before disappearing, it turned back and met Aaron's eyes for one breathtaking second, then melted into the jungle. The forest was still for a long moment, as if holding its breath. Then the night sounds returned. Aaron exhaled shakily, adrenaline draining from his body. 2 rescues in as many days. First the monkey's baby, now the very predator that had threatened them. It felt like the forest itself had placed him here, chosen him to balance the scales. The next morning, word spread among the rangers. Some shook their heads in disbelief. "You saved the leopard too?" one asked, half admiring, half bewildered. Aaron just nodded quietly. He couldn't explain it. He only knew that walking away had never been an option. Later that week, Aaron returned to the clearing one more time. The troop was there, the baby now climbing weakly on a low branch. The mother didn't scream this time. She just watched him silently. It was as though she knew what he had done, not just for her baby, but for the balance of the jungle itself. He left fruit again, then stood back and let them eat. For the first time, one of the younger monkeys climbed closer, curious but unafraid. Aaron felt a deep peace settle over him. This was why he had become a ranger, not just to enforce rules, but to be the bridge between 2 worlds,